Okay, so now we're going to export our unwraps into a file that we can actually use in Photoshop. We also, if you want to save your UVWs for later, just in case you lose the unwrap on the character from doing something, we can save the UVWs of this half of object. So I'm just going to say character 1, because I haven't named this guy. And if we want to later reapply that same unwrap with remembering where all those polygon vertices are, we can just load that using the load button there. But for now, we're just rendering out our UVW template, so we'll get out there. We'll say our character's at, I'll put it pretty low, 256 by 256, and we'll render out pretty much what it's already showing here. So, render UVW template, that's what it's going to look like when we get it out. So, green lines being the edges, white lines being the middle, and it's not missing any bit because they're overlapping the edges. So I'm now going to save that. And I'll just create a new folder. And I'll call it textures. I can chuck my textures in there, just keep things a bit organized. So UVW map is what I'll call this one because it's our UVW map, and I'll save it as a bitmap. I could probably do the optimized one, but I'll just stick with RGB. And so now we're going to open Photoshop. And Photoshop open, we're going to get that picture we just saved. So and that's going to be our background layer for this picture. Hopefully so we're going to zoom into that, and I'm going to create a new layer on top of it. And we can start putting a texture on. So I'll just do this a bit quick and create a couple of base textures. So, okay, this version of Photoshop has a bunch of new brushes. Let's say we want a shirt to be green. So I'll go and get a green brush, and we're going to paint over our shirt. The other way to do this is to go and get us a magic wand. Go back to this layer, select the outside edge. Shift Control I to invert your selection. We'll go back to here. Now if I get me a paintbrush, and I'll make it a giant paintbrush without getting onto the other ones, which means I should probably have picked a hard edged brush. We're now wearing a green dot. But say we want there to be a logo on the back of the shirt, we'll go, it can be an orange logo so it stands out against the green. No, we can go completely over our green line. I'll just repick the other color because now I've noticed my selection didn't quite do what I wanted. And I'll just go over those last edges, those green lines, because otherwise those green lines will be in our texture. But just so I can see our thing underneath it, I'm going to make this layer a bit more, less opaque rather. I'm going to go back to having a giant orange circle on the back. I remember that this side was the back of our object, so say we'll have some kind of I'm going to try and do an anchor type thing down his back. So we've got a little curved bit, and we've got a line that goes up the back and comes out. Now, this isn't going to look that great because I haven't spent too much time on it, but I can repick the green and just paint back over to get the edges, although it's probably better practice to just do the other color on a different layer. And so now I've got a layer for his shirt, except that's a different green because I did it when it was opaque, so I'll just redo that again. We'll just make another layer and do the arms. So assuming that he's wearing a shirt, we'll get, and the shirt is the same green color, we'll get, the arms should be simple enough to just go and put them all the way down to the wrist. Now once again, I'm just going to edit it out in the opaque bit, because at the wrist will change color. Okay, so for our hand, we'll just make it a skin color. So we'll get down between the orange and red and pick somewhere up there. And once again, I'm not going to try and edit that shirt bit, so I'll put a new layer, but I'll chuck it underneath in case I go over the edges. Shift Control N. And so say that's our skin color. We'll just go over that. Like, you could put a lot more detail there and do shading and whatnot, but for the moment I'm just going to do colors and see how it looks. So if I'm happy with that, I could press Control E and merge the layer down, but I'll just leave it there for the moment and have a whole bunch of layers over my model. So I'll get another one and we'll start on the pants. So let's try and do a jeans type color. So we'll get blue jeans, they're around about that kind of bluish grey. Let's go to figure out where the foot starts. So I'll get, in fact, there'll be wavy cut jeans. So I'll go down there. Yes. For sure. So now I've got that, I'm just going to paint bucket as soon as I find which one of these is paint bucket under. The inside. And just fill out that smoothed edge, because even though I've got a hard brush, it still thinks that that area is already taken up when it paint buckets. And for the sake of things, we'll go black shoes, just because black shoes are easy to hide. So I'll get a black layer and paint over that setting, except once again I'll chuck it underneath our pants layer so I don't have to worry about painting over the line of the pants. Except now I've noticed back on our pants layer that there's a bit of the green lines overshowing, so I'll just paint over the edge of our UW to hide that. It doesn't matter if I'm painting off into nothingness because there's nothing there. And so once again, grab our same skin color because we can assume that the person's face is the same color as the rest of them. We'll go just draw around the edges. And fill in the middle. So now we've got the basic colors of all of our thing on there, except we're going to want a bit more detail in the face. But first we'll just check out how that looks on our character. So we'll save our Photoshop file so that we have all our layers saved, and then we will save it as, say, I'll go for a bitmap. And we'll just change the name because apparently in CS5 it'll overwrite the file. So we'll go texture13 for our bitmap. We'll go back to Max. We'll open up Material Editor. Get our diffuse color map. Pick bitmap. And we've got our texture, which will apply our character, and we'll see how it looks. So now we've got a person with skin-colored face, green shirt, blue pants, black shoes, and a really dodgily drawn anchor type thing. And if we show the rest of the stack, so when we remove our symmetry modifier, that's what he's going to end up looking like. So, yeah. Let's get rid of the lines.
Attention Year 12 students, this is just a reminder that the deposit...
Okay, so now we've got a texture on there. I'm going to go back. I'm going to collapse all of this because we no longer need to deal with it. Well, for the moment, I'll show you another thing with unwrap. So, say we want to change that texture in the background from being checkers to being the texture we're actually using. Yeah, it's done a couple of times, but now we can see in our unwrap where each of our polygons is in relation to our picture, just in case. And that's just by selecting there, picking a texture, and selecting the texture you're using. So, yeah.